Let's start with the big news that's breaking in the last hour. Our first daily headline is trading places. Mark Sahne of ESPN tweeted out the Knicks are in advanced discussions to trade Tyson, Chandler, and Raymond Felton to Dallas for Jose Calderon, Samuel Dalembert, and Shane Larkin. The Knicks would save about $10 million if they declined the $3.8 million team option on Dalembert's contract. But now we are learning that you still have to pay him $1.8 million if you cut him, so it'd be a little less than that. Either way, it would free up big cap space this summer. And obviously, the one thing is Calderon, $7 million extends forward a couple of years, but they would have more cap space with Bargnani and also with Amari Stoudemire's deal going away after next year. So the Knicks, in the end, would get a lot of cap space. They'd free up cap space. Now, what do you think of all this from the Knicks' perspective?
Well, I think it gives Jackson flexibility. I mean, do I think they're remarkably better? No. I mean, Calderon couldn't guard a lamppost, and you saw him off the court last year for the Dallas Mavericks because he can't defend. He's a good offensive player.
But next to Ray Felton?
But I understand he's an upgrade over Raymond Felton, but we're really mixing here. I mean, he's not a championship caliber player. You look at him. He was in there. They signed him to a deal, and obviously, you know, they've swayed their opinion on Jose Calderon. They want to get Chandler down there because of his defensive presence. Dirk already admitted that he's probably lost a step and he's got to readjust his game. They're making one final push there for the Mavericks to try and win another NBA championship. I get that. For the Knicks, to me, it's about cash. It's not necessarily the players coming back. It's the flexibility this summer for Phil Jackson potentially to unload expiring contracts and bring back another star this summer.
Right, we can break down what it means in terms of the players who have exchanged teams today. But what nobody knows yet, what's cool about this, with the intrigue...
We shouldn't say exchange teams yet. It's not official.
Will be reportedly about to exchange teams, of course. Yes, very official, John.
Thank you.
Impressed by your journalistic standards there.
Thank you.
No, look, I mean, the intrigue is clearly, well, what does this mean? It's the first Phil Jackson strike. He's blown up, or will reportedly soon blow up, one aspect of the roster that's pretty significant. So what's it mean? I mean, as you said in the open that we had to do on the fly there, does it mean anything about LeBron? Does it mean something about a Kevin Love? Or does this mean for Carmelo? There's nobody in the Twitter sphere, no reporter, no analyst that has the answers to those questions right now, and that's what we all want to know. So with the draft coming tomorrow, is there a move that follows pretty quickly? All kinds of interesting stuff here.
Right, and the victory to me, if you're from the Knicks standpoint, is getting rid of Felton, because essentially the Mavs wanted Chandler back, and what the Knicks said is you can have him, but you're taking this guy. And like you said, Calderon, the only guy he might be able to guard right now is Raymond Felton. You get his contract off the books.
And he's got 3 years left on his deal.
And Chandler was, Chandler was going to come up next season, so now you have him off the books if you trade him as well. Dalembert is not going to factor into the Knicks' on-court plans. But I think if you're Carmelo Anthony, too, looking at the Knicks and wanting a contender in a year or two, then you look at Felton leaving, even if he's a teammate you get along with well, his leaving is a good thing for the Knicks, and the fact that he could not be the guy with the ball in his hands.
Well, and also keep in mind, Chandler challenged a veteran coach in Mike Woodson publicly last year. Maybe Phil also doesn't want to set his, Derek Fisher up as a rookie coach to have to deal with that, too.
No, and I would agree with that. And listen, I think Chandler soured on the Knicks. I think the Knicks soured on Chandler. You know, they put him back in a position where he can go out there and win in a situation and with an organization that he's very comfortable with. I would not be surprised, to be honest with you, if Calderon's not a part of this team when the season gets going, because I think even though Calderon defensively isn't good, he's a much easier tradable piece than Raymond Felton. As Pat brought up, you were able to get rid of Felton, who was basically an absolute zero. Calderon can do some things offensively, defensively, obviously, leaves you one.
Not only was Felton zero, he was actually a negative. He was less than zero because of the gun thing that happened.
Right, he was a guy who couldn't move, was paid too much, and walked around with firearms or whatever.
Other than that, he was fantastic.
Great teammate, great player to have other than that. No, look, Phil Jackson cleared more money and more dead weight here, pardon the pun, with Raymond Felton, more dead weight than anyone would have thought he could do. I mean, you would have laughed today if you would have heard somebody suggest, oh, why don't you get rid of Raymond Felton? It's like, yeah, in his dreams. Right. And he went ahead and did it. So, good move there.
Yeah, if you're looking ahead to next offseason as what you're planning for, this is just getting rid of things early, and that's a good thing for Phil Jackson.